If you've ever felt a chill down your spine just by walking past an abandoned place, get ready. What you're about to hear might shake your very sense of reality. The story that haunts the quiet streets of San Leopoldo, in the southern part of the country, isn't something you'd hear before bed. It's the kind of tale that leaves a mark. That makes you ask yourself, did this really happen? Or worse, is it still happening? Among ruins covered in weeds and the heavy scent of a forgotten past, they say screams still echo through moonless nights. People who pass by avoid even glancing at what remains of the old, decommissioned psychiatric hospital known by many as the Asylum of the Insane. The place is surrounded by mystery, unexplained disappearances, and an eerie sense that something or someone is still trapped inside, frozen in time. The scariest part? Many locals swear these aren't just made-up stories. Some know people who went in and were never the same. Others never came out at all. Apparitions, screams in the dark, whispers from nowhere, these are common threads in the stories passed around. Some call it fiction. Others prefer not to talk about it at all, as if even speaking about it invites the unknown into your life. But why does this story still survive? Because it goes beyond fear. It's a blend of curiosity, psychological terror, and that almost uncontrollable urge to find out what really happened in there. There's a limit to what the human mind can take, and this place feels like it was built to push people right past it. So if you're one of those who believe every urban legend holds a grain of truth, come with me. But I warn you now, not everyone walks away the same after hearing the real story of San Leopoldo. And maybe, just maybe, you won't either. They say every small town hides its secrets, but San Leopoldo, it feels like it made a pact with silence itself. Between crumbling mansions and fog-filled alleys lies a story the elders refuse to speak, at least not out loud. It's not something taught in schools or printed in newspapers. But everyone knows someone who's heard the screams coming from the forgotten part of town. A place where logic disappears, and fear seems to have built a permanent home. There, the line between reality and madness is paper thin. No one knows exactly when the rumors began, but everything centers around one grim structure, isolated from tourist paths and ignored even by the most detailed maps. A psychiatric hospital, now abandoned, that once housed hundreds deemed too insane for society. Some say strange treatments happened there. Others insist it wasn't therapy, it was torture disguised as science. Eventually, no one dared enter. And those who did came back different. Or didn't come back at all. The town learned to live with the fear. Children grow up hearing they must never go near the place after sunset. And adults, even the skeptical ones, avoid mentioning the decommissioned institution, as if speaking its name might awaken something still lurking inside. The silence around the hospital became part of daily life. But now and then, a newcomer arrives curious enough to poke at what should have been left buried. And just like that, the legend comes roaring back. Despite the town's hush-hush attitude, some claim the story is rooted in truth. Old records mention disappearances, forced internments, and reports of patients who simply vanished from the system. The official version is always vague: fire, lack of funding, sudden closure. But the details never add up. How do you explain the midnight noises, the voices heard in an empty building, or the ghostly figures seen wandering in lab coats and straitjackets down the dark corridors? What's strangest of all is the feeling that this story, no matter how absurd, never truly ended. It pulses, alive, like a heartbeat inside a forgotten corpse. People in San Leopoldo have learned not to stir the past, but all it takes is one spark of curiosity to reignite a collective fear. Some tales aren't meant to be understood, they exist to keep the curious away from danger. And this, my friend, is just the beginning. One of the most talked about figures among longtime locals is Ottavio, one of the asylum's most infamous patients. They say he arrived young, eyes lost in some far-off place and a creepy grin that unsettled even the doctors. No one ever figured out what was truly wrong with him, sometimes violent, other times silent for days, staring at walls like he was seeing things no one else could. Some claim he spoke with invisible voices. And one night, he vanished from his padded cell, leaving behind only claw marks on the wall. His name still echoes in whispered conversations. Then there was Irene, a disheveled woman who wandered the halls singing eerie nursery rhymes. They said she was admitted after losing her children in a fire, but no one could confirm who she really was. Some locals believe she was the victim of psychiatric experiments, and that her hallucinations weren't signs of madness, but results of something the doctors injected into her late at night. Even now, people swear they hear those same lullabies drifting from the ruins, as if Irene's still there searching for her children in the rubble. In town, fear is passed down like an heirloom. Take Dona Zuleika, for instance. She still refuses to say the hospital's name aloud. She's lived in the neighborhood since the 60s and swears she saw patients being dragged like animals by guards in white coats. The insane, she says, weren't seen as people but as things to be controlled. Back then, most residents were terrified to even walk near the outer wall, especially when screams of pain and begging spilled into the night. To many, it was never a hospital, it was a house of horrors. Over time, even nicknames for the patients emerged. The most dangerous were called the locos of Leopoldo, a cruel, mocking term for those society had given up on. But among the town's youth, the phrase took on a mythical quality. It was the locos, they'd say when strange things happened, when something disappeared or an unexplained sound broke the silence. And the weirdest part? Even after the hospital shut down, those things kept happening. Perhaps the most chilling theory is that not all the patients were truly insane. Some elders believe many were locked away out of convenience, troublesome heirs, unwanted wives, rebellious children. People who knew too much, or simply stood in the wrong person's way. If that's true, imagine the rage and anguish trapped within those walls. Maybe that's what still echoes through the ruins, the suffocated cries of those silenced by force. And everyone in San Leopoldo agrees on one thing: the mad never left. At first glance, the old hospital in San Leopoldo just looks like another building forgotten by time, shattered windows, mold-covered walls, tall weeds swallowing up the cracked steps at the front entrance. But stand there in silence for just a few minutes, and you'll start to understand why no one dares to go near it after sundown. There's a heaviness in the air. A pressure that settles on your chest, like the walls themselves are still holding on to every breath, every muffled scream of those who once lived or died inside. Some say the place is cursed, built on sacred ground. Others believe the spirits of the insane still roam the halls. The main building still bears its metal sign, the rusted and worn São Miguel Psychiatric Institute of San Leopoldo. A beautiful name that does nothing to mask the terror that happened inside. Patients locked up for weeks, procedures done without anesthesia, electroshock therapy used as punishment, all in the name of healing. Today, the rooms are empty, but those who listen closely swear they still hear chains dragging across the floor, incoherent whispers, and even muffled crying coming from the old cells. And believe it or not, some have recorded those sounds. There are so many stories from people who've tried to explore the site, it's hard to keep track. One guy from out of town walked in with a camera and nerves of steel. He ran out screaming less than 10 minutes later. Wouldn't say what he saw, just kept repeating that someone was in there. Another time, a group of friends decided to spend the night filming a horror video for the internet. The footage went viral not for what they showed, but because one of them vanished and was never seen again. The others came back shaken, and one ended up hospitalized, muttering nonsense for days. It's hard to know where superstition ends and truth begins. But the accounts are far too consistent to be ignored. On nights with no moon, locals claim to see lights flickering on the upper floors, despite the building having no electricity for decades. And the sounds, oh, the sounds. Sometimes they're cries for help. Sometimes, screams of pain. Some even believe the hospital is a portal, a place where sanity crumbles, and despair takes physical form. One resident swore he saw a shadow wearing a straitjacket, staring out from the third-floor window. The most disturbing part? That wing has no windows. Even surrounded by fences and no trespassing danger of death signs, the building continues to attract the curious. Maybe it's the mystery. Maybe it's the thrill of facing fear hidden. But those who go in rarely come out the same. There's something in there that plays with the mind-twisting thoughts, warping time, whispering things no one should hear. The San Leopoldo Hospital may be officially shut down, but for those who believe in the stories, it never stopped operating. It just changed the kind of patients it keeps inside. It all started as a dumb idea on a boring night. A group of 4 friends, Lucas, Andre, Tois, and Beto, decided to test the infamous reputation of the asylum. It's just a quick video for the channel, they said. They'd go in, record a few clips, and be laughing about it at the bar an hour later. What they didn't know was that they were about to cross a line that not all of them would return from. Armed with flashlights, cell phones, a night vision camera, and a kind of teenage courage that often ignores common sense, they slipped through the rusted gate under the cover of night. And that's when the worst night of their lives began. At first, it was all jokes. Sarcastic remarks about the moldy walls, nervous laughter, silly ghost comments. But soon, the vibe shifted. Tois was the first to hear something strange, a whisper calling her name, echoing from one of the rooms. "It's just the wind," Andre shrugged, trying to keep things light. But let's be honest, the wind doesn't know your name. And it definitely doesn't laugh quietly into your ear, like Beto claimed happened to him minutes later. The tension skyrocketed when they reviewed the footage and realized the whispers weren't just in their heads, they had been recorded. Things spiraled when they found a locked hallway, sealed with thick chains and a sign that read "Restricted Area Danger." Naturally, they decided to go in. That's when Lucas, the most skeptical of them all, started acting weird. He stopped talking. Just stood there, staring at the wall, mumbling something no one could understand. When they tried to pull him away, he snapped, screamed, bit Andre's arm, and ran into a pitch-black room, disappearing completely. The 3 remaining friends tried to follow, but the hallways seemed to shift. It was as if the building itself was alive, feeding off their fear. Tois fainted after seeing something she never described. She just said, over and over in therapy for months afterward, that it wasn't human. Andre, usually the most grounded one, got lost in the building for hours, even though the place seemed small from the outside. When he finally found a way out, carrying an unconscious Tois in his arms, dawn was already breaking. Beto? He never spoke of that night again. He quit the channel, cut ties with everyone, and moved to another city. As for Lucas, Lucas became just another name on the long list of San Leopoldo's missing. Officially, they were never there. But the camera tells a different story. To this day, clips from that night are still circulating online, posted by Andre after weeks of hesitation. There's no edit, no trick, that explains what appears on screen: doors opening on their own, shadows moving behind them, and a shrill, spine-chilling laugh that none of them recognize. Some viewers say it's just clever effects. Others swear they felt something watching them through the screen, especially if watched late at night with headphones. The truth? That night changed every single one of them forever. And for the locals of San Leopoldo, it only confirmed what they already knew: that place isn't just dangerous, it chooses who gets in and who gets out. Theories about what really goes on inside the old asylum in San Leopoldo are split between the mystical and the scientific, or, perhaps more accurately, between the macabre and the deranged. Many believe the madmen once locked inside never truly left. Their bodies may have died, but their shattered minds still wander the hallways, caught in an eternal loop of pain and suffering. People claim these tormented spirits appear as shadows, whispers, or distant cries in the dark. Some say they're nothing more than echoes of the past, endlessly repeating their torment. Others insist they're something far darker and aware. A more sinister theory suggests the hospital served for years as a secret testing site for inhumane medical experiments. Shock therapy with no anesthesia. Experimental surgeries. Unregulated drug trials with unknown chemicals carried out in the dead of night. All of it hidden from the public eye. Some even claim the facility was backed by government black projects during the dictatorship, when people could conveniently disappear under the excuse of being mentally unstable. If that's true, what haunts the asylum might not be supernatural at all, but the real-world consequences of crimes that should have never happened. Then there's the metaphysical theory that the asylum became a sort of rupture point between dimensions. A tear in the fabric of reality, where the barrier between our world and the other side is dangerously thin. People who enter, especially at night, might come face-to-face with things that were never meant to be seen, hearing and feeling presences that exist on a different plane altogether. That could explain why so many visitors report time distortion, disorientation, and the overwhelming sense that they're not alone, even when standing in an empty room. Because the building itself is a cursed portal. Of course, the skeptics have their say too. They chalk it all up to mold spores causing hallucinations, suggestion-based hysteria, or the psychological effects of a creepy environment. And yet, even they won't go inside. Deep down, they know the fear isn't entirely imagined. Many of those who deny the stories do so as a form of self-protection, like closing your eyes in a nightmare, hoping it goes away. Some even say the original doctors themselves knew something was wrong. Old records mention unexplainable phenomena and events with no medical justification. So what really haunts San Leopoldo? Is it the ghosts of the wrongfully committed, still crying out for justice? The guilt soaked into the walls, now given form through voices and visions? Or was the place cursed from the beginning, built on ancient darkness that simply waited to be fed? Whatever the truth is, one thing is certain: nothing about that place is normal. And maybe our biggest mistake is trying to find logic in a place built on madness, suffering, and silence frozen in time. But still, like always, curiosity pulls us back, and even when every sign tells us to walk away. So, in the end, was it all just the invention of vivid minds? Or is there truly something hiding behind those peeling walls and shadow-soaked hallways? In San Leopoldo, the line between reality and legend fades like mist at dawn. No one has solid proof. No one can explain everything. But everyone agrees on one thing: that psychiatric hospital should be left alone. And maybe, just maybe, that's the clearest sign that something truly dark still lives inside. The story of the madman who never left has become part of the town's identity. It's passed down from generation to generation like a warning, a quiet reminder that some places shouldn't be touched, and some names should never be spoken. Kids grow up afraid of the building. Teenagers dare each other to go near it. Adults pretend not to believe. But deep down they all feel it. That unsettling weight hanging over San Leopoldo. A silence that whispers, as if the past is still lurking, waiting for someone bold or foolish enough to open the wrong door. Some stories are born to frighten. Others, to teach. And then there are those like this one that do both. Maybe the true horror of San Leopoldo isn't in the screams or apparitions, but in our constant human urge to cross forbidden lines, to open what's been sealed, to touch the untouchable just to see what happens. That kind of curiosity has ruined a lot in this world. And in this case the price might be higher than most people are willing to pay. The truth is, we may never know what really happened to Lucas, or to Ottavio, or to Irene. But what matters is that their stories live on. And the more we talk about them, the more the hospital seems to breathe again. As if every word feeds the memory of that place, keeping not just the legend alive, but also the fear it carries. So if you ever find yourself in San Leopoldo, think twice before asking about the old asylum. And think 3 times before stepping through its doors. Because in the end, the message is clear and chilling: some doors are meant to stay closed. Some screams were never meant to be heard. And some places were never designed to heal but to trap. And they still do. Whether all this is real or just the product of imaginative minds is for you to decide. But remember, don't challenge the unknown thinking it won't answer. Because sometimes it does. And sometimes it never lets you leave. Have you ever wondered why certain stories draw us in even when they terrify us? Maybe it's because fear reveals who we are when no one's watching. After hearing the dark secrets of San Leopoldo, let me ask you this: what are the asylums you visit inside your own mind? How far would your curiosity take you? And would you have the courage to face the unknown if it knocked on your door tonight? If this story gave you chills, made you reflect, or had you questioning your sense of reality, then it served its purpose. Sometimes, horror isn't just to scare, it's to awaken parts of us that have gone numb. Forgotten fears, buried memories, and that strange hunger to understand the unexplainable. And if you made it this far, it means you're one of the rare ones, the kind who doesn't run from the dark, but lights a candle and walks into it. So, why not keep that candle burning? The world is full of stories like this: mysteries, urban legends, unexplainable events that defy logic and reason. If you enjoy this kind of dark and twisted journey, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. Because every week, we bring you something to make you shiver and think. And trust me, the next story might be even more disturbing than San Leopoldo. Before you go, drop a comment below. Do you believe in this story? Have you ever experienced something like it? Do you know of another haunted place like this? Your story could be the start of our next investigation. After all, as we've said before, not every legend is just a legend, and the next one might be much closer than you think. So get ready for what's coming. And remember, some doors, once opened, never close again.